Well, as they say, there's a whole lot of shaking going on, and that's definitely the case within the Trump administration, as he plans to shake things up in a major way once he takes office. The president-elect has raised several eyebrows surrounding those he selected to be a part of his administration. Now, many are crying foul, and then there's the thought process of what is all of this about anyway? My first guest is a life coach, podcaster, political analyst, and author of the book Living for the Living. Yes, I'm referring to none other than Mr. Jamal Javanji, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, sir. Happy Friday, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you as well.
I got to tell you, I'm really excited for you to be here. First of all, I've been looking for a life coach for years now. We might have to talk as soon as we get done. In this case, we're going to start off by talking about your recent article. In this case, it's all about why many are traumatized by the recent U.S. election results. Do tell, sir.
Absolutely. I've been working. I have the privilege of working with people on a full-time basis and in a life coaching capacity. And what I've picked up over the last year and a half is steadily as our election season has increased, people's nerves have been activated. And actually, I hate to say this, but our elections in recent times have become almost national traumatic events. And so what I've witnessed is that people's nervous system, their sympathetic nervous system, has been inflamed because what we've heard, and this unfortunately happens with both political brands in this country, we're told that if one half of the electorate gets their way and their candidate wins, our country is over, democracy is over, we're in grave danger. Well, this messaging is intended to provoke people to go to the polls, but it's doing it through the use of fear, which exacerbates our sympathetic nervous system, causing real trauma. So what we saw was when one candidate, and in a democracy, it's natural. One candidate is naturally going to win and one candidate is naturally going to lose. Well, when the folks who are, part of the base of the losing candidate, they feel threatened, their lives feel threatened, they feel in danger, which is unfortunate in a democracy. And Vice President Harris, in her concession speech, she said, and she reassured folks, she said, we're all going to be okay. And I love those words, but my question to the vice president is, where were those words for the last year and a half? It has to be true. And we have to tell and reassure people that we're actually going to be okay because it's the choices we make that affect our lives far more than who is sitting in office in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, Jamal, I'm just standing here thinking about that phrase, can't we all get along? Remember that? Can't we all get along? And it seems that, well, during this presidential election that just passed, we didn't really see that. The question is, will we continue to have to deal with that in the near future?
Well, until our candidates understand that there's a better way to inspire people, to move people. See, the candidates want to get their bases to take action, to vote. There's two ways to do it. You can use fear, or you can compel people through a compelling vision for the future. And so we really need to get back to that, or maybe we need to even hit a new level where the test of leadership is how much can you, not how inflamed can you make people, but how much can you inspire people to hope for the future, to actually be motivated to go to the polls. And that's what it's going to take to change this. All
right. Well, let's talk about this shock factor. You heard me make mention of it in the open. In this case, President-elect Trump selecting RFK Jr. to head up the HHS. Word is there were a number of gasps that were heard following this announcement. I'm curious your take on all of this.
Well, I think the one thing that I have heard consistently, this is also reflective of my views, that there's a real crisis in our country when it comes to health. This is one of the sickest countries in the world. And folks like Robert Kennedy Jr. have really been addressing this. They've been addressing this for over 40 years. He's been litigating against companies who are poisoning our food supply, poisoning the water. He's advocating for health safety. Pharmaceutical companies have been given immunity, blanket immunity. They can produce drugs, vaccines specifically, that do not have to go through the same health tests that other drugs have to, because they have immunity. They can't be sued for harm that their products cause. And this is the only industry that is given that kind of immunity. He's been addressing that. And I get it. He gets I know when you get a reputation, it kind of sticks to you. He's been labeled as an anti-vaxxer. But I would encourage people to actually listen to him. He's addressing something. And this is why I think President Trump got a lot of votes this year is because he's addressing the health crisis our country has been experiencing. This should not be the sickest country in the world, and there's reasons for it. And so folks like Robert Kennedy Jr. are addressing that.
We'll have to see how it all plays out. I want to move on to your book before we let you go. In this case, Living for the Living. You say that living for a living isn't the exception, it's the rule. I love that. Explain that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my experience has been, growing up, I was always frustrated by the question, what do you want to do for a living? And really that question simply means, what do you do for money? But I've learned that, what you do for a living can actually come from your passion and your desires and not strictly from survival or the need for money. And so I wrote the book Living for a Living to help people understand that there's a new way you can understand money, right? Money, the root word of money is simply currency, and the root word of currency is current or energy. And we all possess this energy. And when we learn to live from this internal energy of passion and desire and to solve the world's problems, life can actually, feel like play as opposed to work. I think it was Bill Belichick that said, when you love what you do, you don't go to work a day in your life. And I'm convinced that this is not just for the elite few. This is really a destiny that all human beings can tap into, that we can actually live for a living as opposed to living or working for survival.
Absolutely love it. Jamal will end with this, and that is, you have also tapped that there is no other. I'm going to say that again. There is no other, in this case, with regard to finding a solution.
Yes. So a lot of times the way we view the world is through these lenses of, we identify people by something other than human. And we're all in this together. I always say this, as a nation, there's only one people. There's not Republican people or Democratic people. There's just the human population. And we all have the same desires. We have desires to prosper, to make a good living and to live our lives from passion. And we have a desire to be healthy. We have a desire to be safe and secure. So all folks across the political spectrum have the same core desires. And it's important that we remember that, especially as we gather around the tables for Thanksgiving and Christmas, that no matter what the political persuasion is of the folks that you're gathering with, deep down, we all want the same thing. And we need to understand that there is no other, there's just us.
And deep down, we all just want to get along. Once again, Jamal Jabanji joining us right here on the Live Zone. Make it a great Friday, sir. Truly appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
But of course,